Hello.
Hello,
Hello.
how are you?
I'm good.
Oh, no, I mean, it's just, um, and reading other books similar to some of the guidance that she is giving in this book. Um, one of the exercises was to basically write down what you want and kind of map out on paper what in your current mindset would get you there. And so, like, one of the things that I want to get into is the real estate, and how many units would it take to get to that 250 or that $300,000 of if nothing more gross income, and it's like, okay, well, if I was looking at condos, I would need 24 condos, and I would need to be renting them out for at least $1,200 a month. This would go towards expenses. This would take care of this, leaving me an approximate, net of, this, multiply that by 12 months, and basically just kind of mapping it out as you go. And as I jokingly said to you, having look at realtor.com every single day for the past year and see condos going for $45,000-$50,000 a piece, and being like, this might be the time to them suddenly going boom to 75,000 and up for the same condos that were 45,000 a year ago.
Not even a year.
Was extremely disheartening.
Right. Knowing real estate as I do, from years and years of appraising it, it will come back down. All things that go up must come down.
Yeah.
Balls and real estate are all in the same, they must come down. So at some point it will. And that doesn't mean you can't make a profit at a higher point, at a higher price point either. You have to figure out the profit margins differently. But I can understand the being disheartened in that you kind of had a plan mapped out a year ago, like, hey, I can make this work, and it sounded pretty good. Work on it, and then the pandemic hit, and nobody's allowed to evict anybody, and nobody's selling any houses, and the houses that are selling are at ridiculous rates, and all of that. So yeah, things have changed. It is frustrating.
But that's where, as they say, to run, and you're always adjusting your sails, or you're always adjusting the rudders because it's never a straight line.
Right. It's never a straight line. That's true. So I like the segue from chapter 10, if you will, into chapter 11, because I think once you start putting these goals on paper and you start looking at numbers and you start doing that freak out of, I don't know how to get there, and man, this seems like a heavy lift, and your brain starts to go into the, are you kidding me? This is ridiculous, right? Which is exactly what you're trying to trigger in chapter 10. You want that because that's what you're trying to tap out of. But I think it's important in chapter 11 to really talk about what is unconsciously, even at that point, still holding you back. And that's typically that you've tried something before and it didn't go so well. And this is one of those chapters that every time I read it, I'm like, damn it, why does it still have a hold on me, right? Why do I read this and I still get choked up every time? Because the goal trauma was so big, right? So let's talk about this. Did anyone read through this and be like, oh man, she's talking to me? Did you identify a trauma in your goals in the past?
A trauma. You make it sound like there was only one.
I know. I'm being generous. Would you like to share what came up for you? Did you need a drink?
No, I mean, again, it's, as I'm sure any of us can relate to, it's not just one thing. And in some cases, I speak only for myself, but I mean, it's there are multiple traumas from different angles that I can see prevent me from doing a certain thing or going forward with a certain thing. So it's, it's not like just getting a left hook. It's like getting a left hook, a right hook, an uppercut, and a gut punch. And like, yeah, no, I don't think I want to fight that demon anymore.
Yep. Yep. Anybody else? Thank you, David. I agree. It's getting hit like 4 times, not just once.
I think for me, the issue of goals has always been something that I actually don't like to do. And I was just thinking right now, like, why that is the case. I think for me, what it is it boils down to failure. And if I think about the times I've set up goals, I've not met them in one degree or another. Or better yet, to say that I have fulfilled my wishes, the things that I desired to have as an outcome. And for me, I think it's easier to be less attached to a wish, because it's kind of like, if it comes true, yay. And if not, oh well, right? Whereas a goal, I feel like it's got you by your balls. And if you don't fulfill that goal, it's gonna hurt. So I don't know what that is, where that comes from. But what I can tell you is wishes do come true, because I did say to Paige in December, I wanted to make $60,000 this year for tax season. That was my goal, 60,000. Before our vacation last week, we made $100,000 in one deal. So
well,
I made my wish, right? So, because that's the other thing too, like with goals, I feel like there has to be like I think you said it a second ago, map it out, plan it out, that kind of thing. And for my personality type, there is no planning. It's just, we're going to just do it, and it's all going to come together. But yeah, I don't know. All I can say is wishes come true.
Well bragged, very good. Woohoo! And good. Glad that you hit your target.
What if instead of calling it a
Yes,
goal,
thank
you
you.
called it an intention?
Yeah. You could
Which
call
is
it an
like a
intention.
wish.
Yeah. I learned through my Buddhist practice that all wishes start with an intention. That's what creates this wish. And then through the intention, when the intention is created, then all of our our mouth, right, will move towards that target, will move towards that wish. And so will the body. It will also move in the same direction to fulfill the wish. And at the end of the day, every single one of us, including my cockroaches that you check out my episode, all of us have one wish, really. And that only wish is to be happy. And whether or not that looks like more money or more time or more freedom or more whatever, it all is coming back down to one root word: happiness.
Right. So I think for goal trauma, for me, when I think of goals, I think of, we were taught, many of us, in a lot of different courses, a lot of different self-development programs or whatever, that you make SMART goals, like it's something that you can figure out a date, and you can figure, like, the reverse engineer from that number, right? So when we're doing this and we talk about goals, I think we're so used to thinking of it in that way that sometimes we forget that, like, it does start with the intention and the wish and wanting to be happy, and we forget that part, and we get really mucked up in the details, right? So I think in chapter 10, when she's talking about, like, you don't have to know how to get there, just down, that's the letting go of that part of it. Like, I don't have to micromanage this, just let the universe have it and figure it out for me. But then when we talk about the word goals, it kind of comes with this package deal where we have these bullet points, right? Where the goal, and we have all these, like, this is how to do it. And so when it doesn't happen, like you were talking about, Jonathan, when it doesn't happen, it feels a little heavier. Like, what bullet point did I miss? Like, what did I not put down? Or what step in the equation did I screw up, right? Because then we get down on ourselves that we didn't do the bullet list or the list of things that we said we were going to do. And so I think it's important to separate those two things, There's the kind of goals that I think are like short-term goals, smaller goals that you can break down. But I think this big one, this big, outrageous, disgusting, oh my God, I can't believe I wrote this number down, stick it on my mirror and freak out about it for 2 weeks. I think that one you have to let go, because there's no possible way you're going to know how to get there right now. You don't even have, you barely have you can barely even fathom that goal is possible, never mind the steps to get there, right? So you have to kind of let that part go and just trust that there's some answer at the end. Have the intention, like Elizabeth was saying, just have the intention that that's what I want. And then breathe. Breathe, that it's possible. And just like you said earlier, Elizabeth, like, ooh, like there's this nugget of maybe I could do that. Like Tara, you said, maybe I'm not that far away, you know, like, and just let that expand on its own without putting a lot of thought into it, without like, you know, teasing it too much. Just let that little nugget grow on its own, that it's possible. In this goal trauma thing, this reminded me a lot of businesses I've had in the past that I didn't get off the ground for a variety of reasons. And also reminded me too of even like goals that weren't necessarily money related, but that were definitely traumatic to not have gotten to the level I wanted to get. I don't know if you've done this in your past. I'm sure you have. You set for yourself, like, I should be here. And you have like this, I hit 50 and I should be here, right? Or I hit 40 and I should be here, whatever the birthday is, whatever the event is. And then we aren't there, whatever our standard was, right? And then we get down on ourselves like, well, why didn't I hit that goal? Why didn't I hit that benchmark for myself, right? And then we get into this trauma. Then we get back to whatever traumas kept us from being at that level that we thought we were going to be at. And then we revisit that 8 million times. And we just keep playing that tape over and over and over and over again as to why we didn't do the thing we said we were going to do, or that we thought we were going to do when we were 12. If you had asked me when I was in elementary school what I would do, I would tell you I was going to cure cancer. I do not work in the cancer curing field at all. And so, but if you went back in time and asked my younger self what she was going to do, was going to be curing cancer. So one could say that I am a failure at curing cancer, right? Because I didn't go into that field as I got older, but also you have to take into account where I was when I said that I worked, you know, my mom worked at a hospital that had a cancer clinic, and I was able to go in with her after hours and feed all the lab rats. And so of course it was really cool. And I thought that's what you did to cure cancer, was to play with the lab rats. So my 10-year-old self thinking that was the coolest job ever, not realizing that you need to study a whole lot of subjects that were not interesting to me to get to the other side of curing cancer. So I think we have to give ourselves some grace, if you will, that the goal that we might have set that was the trauma was a goal that we created in a past version of ourselves, and might not even be a goal that we would currently want to have acquired, right? So yeah, I think of like, there's businesses that I've started that when I think of like, well, if I had actually done that thing, what would my life look like now? And I might have a better financial picture, but I'm not sure it's doing what I would have wanted to be doing, or that I would have missed some other nugget of my life for having been busy doing that. Does that make sense? So there's always like, it's that road not taken situation, the Robert Frost poem, if you're familiar with that.
Yes.
Like you have to choose at each point, like I'm going in this direction. You were saying, Jonathan, like you set the intention, I'm going in this way, and then each decision, each speech, each thought moves you in that direction, and then you choose again when there's another crossroads. And so I wonder sometimes we don't give ourselves enough grace that the things that we didn't accomplish because we chose differently at one of those crossroads, and that was actually the right choice.
Oh yeah, that's huge. I always remember this. Every decision that we're making in our lives, including right now, being in this room together, having this conversation, right, was meant to be. All the events that have occurred in our past lives, all of it led to this moment. And that's what we mean by living in the moment. It's
Right.
this moment right here, all of our past events. Therefore, if we see that and can accept that, then we can begin to let go of that regret and let go of that, all of the what ifs, the could haves, the should haves, and stop shittings on ourselves.
Right.
And then just really accepting that we're in the moment and we're supposed to be here right now to
Right.
fulfill our grandest wish all of us have.
Right, right. We compare ourselves to ourselves, but we also compare ourselves to what we thought we should be, instead of realizing that what we should be is where we are.
Yeah, that is the ultimate truth. And it's funny because in my class, not to self-promote here, I don't mean to, but like in my class, I talk about that. I talk about how powerful what others place upon us since beginningless time has really created this trauma of, you know, guilt and embarrassment and shame and all that other shit that comes along with being a person.
Right, right,
I
exactly.
mean, it wasn't my mother?
No, not just yours.
No,
Okay.
no.
You don't get to own that just by yourself. That we all have that mother,
Okay.
that father, or that
Okay.
mother, or that whoever, right? Teacher,
Yes.
whatever. Yeah, not just yours. She does say on page 169, I think this is. Don't have the glasses on. No, 149. It says goal trauma causes you to approach your goals with hesitation and doubt. Rather than jumping into action, you procrastinate. Guilty. Take half-hearted attempts to your new goal. Also guilty. And be indecisive about what to do. Like, can we just talk about the last 3 weeks where I don't know what the hell I'm doing? Can we just talk? Yeah, right there. There it is. And even if you're willing to set a goal, a power shortage will prevent you from wanting it enough to go after it with all you have. So these power shortages are these thoughts that come in, these creepers, I call them, the creepers that come in and steal your idea. So why pursue a goal if you don't trust yourself or believe it's possible based on your past experience? You might even be conscious of holding yourself back because you are being practical, right? How many times have I told myself that's not reasonable? I really need to be more. I need to be more practical. That's not. And when really, if I had just done the thing I was thinking about doing, the bold, outrageous, ridiculous thing that I thought about doing, I probably would have had better results than the practical version. So, something to think about. The other thing I noticed was there's a good amount of tapping in here. So, but before we get to that, I just want to point out something. On page 156, she says, having an emotionally charged event, whatever it is your goal trauma is, like this, that you never honor, keeps it with you. So until you honor the grief, the loss, and the pain that it all caused, it stays stuck inside you. So that's essentially what she's talking about in chapter 11, is you need to face that thing that happened, the loss of a business, the loss of, whatever financial loss you had, the fact that things didn't go the way, bless you, the way that you expected. You kind of have to face it and honor that happened and that it's all meant to happen. Even if it was ugly and nasty and disgusting and we hated it, that it was meant to happen because you did learn something from it. And now you're not going to make those mistakes again. You're not going to make that same mistake. You're going to make different mistakes, which is fine, but you're not going to make that mistake. And so therefore you're actually better off than someone who hasn't made that mistake before. So that's really important. And then she also says, already come through this event and receive the gifts from it, and you use them all the time. So let this goal trauma transform into your hero story. So take the good from it and let it lead you into a better section, a better part of your life. So if you could live through that, you can handle just about anything this new goal that you're creating throws your way. So when I think of my challenges, my financial challenges, I've I've lost everything before, literally. Had to file the papers and all of that. So what else could go wrong? Like, I've already done that part, and I've lived through it, and I've rebuilt my credit, and all of that. So there's the things that hold me back when I look at my goal trauma really don't make a lot of sense now, because like, okay, well, I'm not going to make those mistakes again. And I've already done the worst of it. Like, I've already done the worst damage to myself financially before. I'm not going to do that again. And I know that I'm not going to do that again. So I can only go up from here. Does that make sense? So that's kind of how we have to reframe everything that's happened to us when we're talking about this. So let's do a little tapping in chapter 11. There is an interesting exercise on page 152 about, like, if you were to make a movie of your goal that was traumatizing to you, the goal that didn't happen, what would that look like? And if you could name that movie. For a long time, the name of my movie was, there actually is a movie about it. It's about a house. I think Shelley Long was in it.
Money Pit?
The Money Pit.
That's
For
mine.
a very long time, that was my movie. And I was like, I lived that movie.
That's
No
me.
word of a lie, lived that movie. Now it's slightly morphed. I probably wouldn't call it that particular movie, but I have lived that one. And I've also lived like the bad divorce movie too, right? Like the financial trauma of divorce. So, so I have several,
Are you saying that we would use a current movie title to describe the trauma, or
You
the
can
goal trauma?
create your own movie title.
Oh yeah, because I already know mine.
What is it?
Mine is The Day Mr. Bengal Died. No,
Okay.
the day Mr. Bengal was murdered.
Uh-huh. Yeah. See? It's pretty traumatic, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, because I went home and tried to commit suicide. So
Right.
yeah.
Yeah. Traumatic days. Yes.
I was just being dramatic, fuckers. They don't want me as a teacher, then screw them.
And now who's living their best life? That's you.
Yeah.
So we all
What
have
did I
a
walk in
moment.
on?
We all have a moment. Hey, Autumn. We all have a moment in our lives where, we could write the script that would be the movie that would have everyone in tears in the theater, right? And we have to let that go and know that we were meant to get through that, to get to the other side of it, to move to the better part of what's coming next. So,
That's the truth.
but it's an interesting exercise. So, Tara, I'm glad I'm not alone. I'm not the only one who's lived through the money pit. That was, I want to do that again. All right, so let's talk about some tapping. We're gonna do, there's like 4 scripts in here, and what I'm gonna do is gonna put 2 together, and then we'll take a pause, and then I'll put the other 2 together. Does that make sense? Rather than pausing 3 or 4 times. So, who wants to tap with me? Don't all be shy. Jonathan, you're driving, so you're not allowed to tap and drive. Elizabeth. Thank you. Let's see, everyone else muted? You are. Okay. So here we go. I'm on page 152. I think that's it. Yeah. All right, so 153. You follow along. I'm not going to do the karate chop tap. We're just going to go right to the face. Okay. Even though I have this story and it's a horror show,
Even though I have this story and it's a horror show,
I love and accept myself
I love and accept myself
with compassion,
with compassion,
because carrying this is heavy.
because carrying this is heavy.
Even though I have this story
Even though I have this story
and it's full of pain and judgment
and it's full of pain and judgment
and sadness,
and sadness,
I totally honor myself.
I totally honor myself.
I honor the weight I've been carrying in this story.
I honor the weight I've been carrying in this story.
No one's honored me for this, not even me.
No one's honored me for this, not even me.
I'm open to loving and accepting myself.
I'm open to loving and accepting myself
with forgiveness and compassion.
with forgiveness and compassion.
Actually, I can't forgive myself
Actually, I can't forgive myself
because this is really bad.
because this is really bad.
And I really screwed up.
And I really fucked up.
I've failed big time.
I failed big time.
It's unforgivable.
It's unforgivable.
It was such a nightmare.
It was such a nightmare.
And it was so much worse than that
And it was so much worse than that
because I really did care.
because I really did care.
I really did want it.
I really did want it.
I tried to be open to miracles,
I tried to be open to miracles.
tried to be at my best.
I tried to be at my best.
I tried so hard
I tried so hard
and I was destroyed.
and I was destroyed.
So much hurt.
So much hurt.
No one to blame but me.
No one to blame but me.
I lost so much and it still hurts.
I lost so much and it still hurts.
Utter failure,
Utter failure.
pain, sadness, and disappointment.
Pain, sadness, and disappointment.
I see the story. It's like a really bad movie.
I see the story and it's like a really bad movie,
But I watch it,
but I watch it.
and when I think about my goals,
When I think about my goals,
sometimes I watch this movie.
sometimes I watch this movie.
It really kicks my butt.
It really kicks my butt.
But right now, I'm just going to honor this.
But right now, I'm just going to honor this.
I'm going to honor the whole story.
I'm going to honor the whole story.
There I am.
There I am.
I should have known better.
I should have known better.
Idiot, weak, stupid.
Idiot, weak, stupid,
So clueless.
so clueless.
I should have known better.
I should have known better.
So trusting, too giving.
So trusting, too giving.
I really should have known better.
I really should have known better.
So naive.
So naive.
I should have figured it out.
I should have figured it out.
I should have seen the signs.
I should have seen the signs.
I should have been stronger.
I should have been stronger.
God, I'm so angry at myself.
God, I'm so angry at myself.
I was too trusting.
I was too trusting.
I didn't see the writing on the wall.
I didn't see the writing on the wall.
I just kept going.
I just kept going.
And I deserve this judgment
And I deserve this judgment
because I'm seeing the truth.
because I'm seeing the truth.
I was an idiot,
I was an idiot,
weak and naive.
weak and naive.
I should have done it better.
I should have done it better.
I should have been stronger
I should have been
Smarter.
stronger
and smarter.
and smarter.
I totally judge this old version of me,
I totally judged this old version of me.
and I should because I'm right.
And I should because I'm right.
I've got a lot of evidence.
I've got a lot of evidence.
I should have done it better.
I should have done it better.
If anyone argues with me about this,
If anyone argues with me about this,
I'll know they're wrong.
I'll know they're wrong.
I was stupid, naive, and too trusting.
I was stupid, naive, and too trusting.
All right. That's pretty harsh, man. Whew. How do you feel? Ah. I don't like it.
God, it makes me feel even more stupid.
Okay. Anyone else feeling like, that's a rough one? But we have to honor that that's part of what's going on in our heads, right? Because by saying that, Elizabeth, right, aren't you saying that I already felt stupid, now I feel even more stupid?
Yeah,
Right.
Big
So we
time.
have to honor that the I feel stupid is in there. And so to get it to come out, sometimes we need to make it worse in order to see it and be like, okay, now I need to get rid of that, because obviously it's still living in there if it resonates, right? So what else resonates from that? Anybody else get a word that jumped out at them like, oof, that one hit me in the gut? Nothing in particular, Tara? You're shaking your head like,
No, I realized when I was reading this chapter that like by joining this group and a lot of the work that I've been doing is already kind of embracing that. For me, my goal failure was like buying this building almost 6 years ago with the express intent of having a hybrid, a mixed use space so that I would have my business in the first floor. And so that's the trauma that I've been trying to heal, and I'm realizing that I'm getting closer and closer to that goal. So it just feels really good to kind of like reframe that and own it and embrace all of the fears and crap that comes
right?
with it.
Yeah,
So I wasn't really feeling a lot of charge, like
that's good.
last week
That's
I was,
good. Yeah,
ooh, big goal. This week I'm like, yeah, I've been trying to process that trauma and I'm okay. Like there's still more. There's always more work.
right. Yeah. It loops around and comes back at you. But yeah, I know for me, the word that jumps out is like, I know I couldn't have been stronger. Like that's off the table. There is no one stronger than me, period. Okay. That I know. That's one of the things I got out of all of this, right? I am resilient as fuck. However, naive is the one that gets me, right? Because I'm like, too trusting, right? Too giving of myself to others, right? So those are the ones that are like yep, those are the ones I got to work on, right? And not to be more jaded, but just to understand that that version of me that was in that place at that time, she doesn't exist anymore. And I learned from those experiences, but that doesn't mean that those words don't like resonate still somewhere in the back of my mind. Like, you're going to do that again, right? So I have to keep talking to that voice and be like, no, I'm not going to do that again. I might do some other version of that again, but I'm not going to do that again because we learned that lesson, right? So I have to work on the inner voice that says, you're naive, you're too trusting, you're too giving to other people, and really work with that voice. So that's the one that always gets me in this chapter. Did anyone else have another word, Jonathan?
Yeah, so for me, I felt like last year was the year in which I matured. I mean, I did turn 40, so maybe that plays into it. I don't know. But I felt like I need to get to the left lane. That's what I felt like. And, and I felt that the word that I kind of struggled with and I finally embraced was the term authority. And because before I used to think that people that were authoritative were assholes. And what I quickly came to learn is that it's not about that. It's about having our boundaries. It's about knowing who we are and really not taking guff from people. And this really was important in my business life. And what's interesting is that I found that when I was making all these improvements in my business life, my personal life was, of course, improving at the same time.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And so I find that very fascinating.
Interesting. So the boundaries that where you're setting boundaries now are so much better than where they were in the past, that it's resonating in other areas too. Yeah.
Yeah. And I used to think it was a bad thing, I just think it was like over strict, right? Like, I don't talk to people after 5 p.m. They don't talk to text messages, right? Like all those little things that we think is like, ew. But what I found is that actually gave me my power, and it really helped me to continue to hold strong in that belief.
Right.
And whereas before, because I was so desperate to be loved by everybody, that's the honest truth, right? Is that I would go, oh yeah, I'll talk to you at 8 o'clock at night and close deals and then forget about it tomorrow, right? And I've learned to just go, no, these are the boundaries that I'm going to have. And I have a weird split personality now, which I do talk about in the class, but I talk about it in the sense of like, I've got JB, who is not here with us. It's Jonathan who's here with us. And at the office, that's where JB is. That's my boss. And so that guy is a total ass. He's the authoritarian. He's the one who's like, but Jonathan is the playful one, which is what we're seeing here right now. But I had to learn how to tap into those two personality types and to be like, when it comes to business, JB is in the office. When it comes to out here in the world, Jonathan's playing, but JB is also watching out for him because he's the adult. And so he's like, wait a minute, this person's playing with you. This person's blah, blah, blah. And so in a way, it's like coming to protect me. And that's how I worked it out last year.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, that's, you almost have to have, I think everyone has split personalities, and we could talk a whole night about this. I think we all have it. I'm fascinated by the whole concept of split personality because I think we all have it. And the only difference between you and Sybil is that you've integrated them all into one person and she hasn't. That's the only difference. But I think we all have that, and to be able to master those and to capture them and to use them to your advantage as opposed to having them work against you is such a huge critical piece. I have a badass bitch. When I want shit done, I will stop at nothing to get that shit done. And there's nothing that will get in the way. However, that lady doesn't really well coexist with the people I live in this house with. So I have to remember that she's pretty rough to live with. So I have to, bring Angel back into the mix every once in a while. But well, thank you for sharing, everyone. Let's get on to the second part of this. I don't want to run out of time. If you wouldn't mind, Elizabeth, continuing with us, that would be good. So I'm on page 155 if you want to follow along. So now we're going to do some good stuff and get rid of all that. Even though I have this story.
Even though I have this story.
And I have been ruthless about it.
And I have been ruthless about it.
I'm just going to honor myself now.
I'm just going to honor myself now.
There was a lot going on.
There was a lot going on.
I had to handle a lot.
I had to handle a lot.
And I took it all on without a lot of support.
And I took it all on without a lot of support.
I was doing the best I knew.
I was doing the best I knew.
Even though a part of me, my internal critic, says, no, I wasn't.
Says, no, I wasn't.
I totally honor this old story.
I totally honor this old story.
I was feeling a lot of pain.
I was feeling a lot of pain.
A lot of fear, maybe even terror.
A lot of fear, maybe even terror.
My programs and paradigms were running unconsciously.
My programs and paradigms were running unconsciously.
Given all that,
I
actually survived it pretty well.
I
honor myself now.
I honor myself now.
I'm open to the idea that I could be proud of how I handled it. Even though I have this old story. And I would shout from the rooftops that there's not an ounce of divinity in it. I'm open to seeing the gift. Because I learned some important things. All this sadness. I honor who I am. I honor who I was in this story. Nobody else did. So I do it now. I had so much going on. I was really doing the best I knew how. Do I really need this judgment on top of that? And I learned things in that event. It made me smarter. You bet it did. It made me stronger. It gave me strength. Because I survived it.
because I survived it.
I came through.
I came through.
I actually didn't crumble forever.
I actually didn't crumble forever.
And I honor that.
And I honor that.
I deserve that.
I deserve that.
I'm open to seeing the hero in this story.
I'm open to seeing the hero in this story.
The hero was me.
The hero was me.
As I let go of this old story,
As I let go of this old story,
I come back to my goal for today.
I come back to my goal for today.
It may seem a little crazy and impossible,
It may seem a little crazy and a little impossible.
that's okay.
That's okay.
But the truth is, I really do want it.
But the truth is, I really do want it.
Yes, I have some fears. Of course I do.
Yes, I have some fears. Of course I do.
I'm human,
I'm human.
but too bad I want it anyway.
Too bad. I want it anyway.
And I'm going for it.
And I'm going for it.
Yes, of course, I still worry about failure.
Yes, I still worry about failure.
I don't want to fail,
I don't want to fail.
but I really do want this.
I really do want this.
And I'm smarter and stronger and ready.
And I'm smarter, I'm stronger, and I'm ready.
I'm going to go for it
I'm going to go for it.
now
Now,
with all my brilliance and all my passion
with all my brilliance and all my passion
and all my energy. This is my time.
and all of my energy, this is my time.
And this is my choice. And I really do want this.
And this is my choice. And I really do want this.
I may have done things the hard way in the past,
I may have done things the hard way in the past,
but I believe that this can and will unfold for me miraculously.
but I believe that this can and will unfold for me miraculously.
I am now totally open
I am now totally open
and expecting that.
and expecting that.
I am open to this goal unfolding as a miracle for me.
I am open to this goal unfolding as a miracle for me.
I am open to this being an amazing, fun, exciting journey.
I am open to this being an amazing, fun, exciting journey
That will inspire me to step up with my brilliance.
that will inspire me to step up with my brilliance.
Inspiration, fearlessness,
Inspiration, fearlessness,
excitement, and passion.
excitement, and passion.
And I am up for the challenge.
And I am up for the challenge.
I am the hero of my story.
I am the hero of my story.
And I will now allow this goal to be my hero's journey.
I will now allow this story to be my hero's journey,
Inspiring me to grow and stretch and shine.
inspiring me to grow and stretch and shine.
I declare that I do want this.
I declare I do want this.
This is my dream.
This is my dream.
This is my life.
This is my life.
This is my mountain,
This is my mountain,
and I'm climbing it.
and I'm climbing it. Woo! Yes!
All right, do you feel better now?
Woo!
Woo,
Let's have it happen now.
right. Everything's possible now, right? How do you feel?
Feel
Harris
good.
dancing, Anna's smiling, Jonathan's laughing.
Who's doing the 80s? I hear that little 80s little chime in the background, like the champion one.
Oh, that's
Is that you humming that?
do.
Feel like we need to get our
Getting
uppercuts. We need to punch back at life now, right? We got punched a few times. Now we're ready to go.
I am the champion, my friend.
That's right.
My friend. Yeah, how does that go? I wish I knew the lyrics. Terrible.
Da, 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 da. Da, da, da.
Till the end.
I'll have to I'll have to find it and post it on the group.
I am the
Champion. Something, something.
There you go.
No time for losers.
Because we are the
Are
the
champions
champions.
of the world.
Our finances.
Of the finances.
Thanks, Ame. At least you know the lyrics.
I'll have to post that so that we all have a chance to listen to it this week as we're tapping. Throw it in the background and tap to that, right?
I love
Totally.
that.
Well, I like that particular one because it just really energizes us and makes us feel like anything is possible. And anything is possible as we are learning, as we hear each other's stories, right? We all have heard a little bit about each of our past life stories here. I feel like we're doing a past life regression workshop where we're transcending our past lives and moving into something new. So now we are definitely setting outrageous goals. We're getting over the past life, and now we're going to be moving into what else might be holding you back. So next week is chapter 12. The title of that is I Don't Deserve More Money.
Fuck that.
So we're going to talk about the limiting beliefs that keep us from earning the things that we want so badly to earn. Let go of those, and then we'll move into chapter 13 the week after that. So I am looking forward to next week. Thank you for being here and being such a good crew. And Anime, thank you for joining us, even though you were running late. I'd rather you be on than not. So yay, nice to see your smiling face. And we'll see you next week.
Thank
Bye,
you.
everybody.
Everyone.
Bye.